Hi, hello, hi, hey, hi, hey, hi. God, I gotta learn how to start a podcast. Hey, it's me, Jeff. It's Jeff May. Welcome to another glorious episode of Jeff Has Cool Friends. With me, I am joined by a very cool friend. I would say probably the shortest meeting to cool friend episode we've done.
Wow.
On the show, I am joined by actor, comedian, and super Batman nerd, Joey Bragg. Joey, how's it going, bud?
Good, man. Yeah, we definitely hit it off. We were like talking at your show at
Yeah.
Blast from the Past, Minton Card Comedy. And it was that where we had to be quiet because there's performers
Yeah,
and we're
it's
in this
tough.
room, but we're also like, who's your favorite Batman artist?
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know, Joey just did Mint on Card, which was last Friday,
Yeah.
and actually real banger show too. Like
It was. Great.
I legitimately thought 9 people were going to show up because everybody was depressed. And like, I was like, I think even you could tell in the message that I sent to the group where I was like, dude, just talk whatever, say whatever you want, let it out, let it out.
I love that you were like, hey guys, some people really need this.
Yeah.
Let's heal with comedy.
Well, no, I don't believe the healing power of comedy. Not something that I necessarily, but I was like, some people need to just emotionally release.
It's
like,
ever since because I did your show, I did a show at Flappers and West Side Comedy Theater right after the election.
Love West Side.
Love West Side. And there's this sort of like when you go and do comedy in LA, it's so much different than New York's kind of the same, but there's this air of the audience that is like, okay, impress me. I'm going to a comedy show in LA. I'm ready to be impressed. But like, there's this air of these audiences right after the election that are less like impress me and more like, I really need this. I really need, release me from this tension and stress that I have. It feels like we're doing something.
It was. And by that's not like, and it's one of those things. I did send the message where I was like, look, man, some people I feel like are going to need, and it was actually true because a lot of people said like, we were so stressed. This was exactly what we needed. And the crowd was amazing. Like they were so into it. And as I told you before, the ingredients don't work. And yet the show works, right? But I booked you because Alan, who works at Blast from the Past, was like, you got to get this guy. You got to get this guy. And I think he sent you to me or vice versa. And he's like, oh, he's great. He's an actor and blah, blah. I was like, is he funny? And he's like, I don't know. Watch his videos. Like, and so I did. And first off, I was like, oh, this guy's got some followers on the gram. But then I was like, well, that doesn't make a good comedy show, though. And I watched the video. Very funny.
Oh, good.
So cool. I was like, get on the show, man. To be fair, I got to be honest. If you weren't funny, I probably wouldn't have booked you.
Yeah.
Like I've had people that were like, I've been on this show. I'm like, that's not how stand-up comedy works at all.
Yeah.
I'm glad you were in Oz. But like, it's not how stand-up works.
I wish all comedy just had the threshold of being funny to be enough. But sadly,
it used to be.
It
was at one point in time. And now it's metrics and algorithms and everything like that. But so you came in and you had a Batman anniversary shirt on. I believe it was 75th anniversary shirt.
Yeah, I think so. It's funny because I was on the Magnolia Strip at those vintage shops that day with my girlfriend wearing that same shirt. And this guy came up to me and he goes, I love your shirt. My dad got me that shirt for my birthday. He got me that exact same shirt for my birthday. I was like, oh, that's cool. The shirt they were giving away for free on Batman Day. Okay. Seems like your dad's a little cheap. But
no, we don't have to tell him that. Maybe his dad's on fixed income. We don't know.
Yeah,
but yes, but and so I was like, oh, but I knew that was a free shirt. So I was just like, oh, and then so I kind of was like, so you're a Batman fan. You're like, I am a psychopath for Batman. And that's when we really clicked.
Yeah.
Because it was like, all right, this guy's at my level. He knows the shit that I know. Let's start talking Batman. And it was one of those just absolutely like one of those stepbrothers, like, do we just become best friends?
Yeah.
And so I was like, dude, like, come to the show. Everybody else is too depressed.
Yeah, right. Is performing in a comic book store or vintage where I know they know what I'm talking about is like so many times I'll do a bit at the Comedy Store about like I have this joke I did it at your show where I feel the same way about Batman that like a devout Catholic nun feels about Jesus.
Great.
So many times I do that and like the joke to the person in the audience is that I like Batman. You know what I mean? Like that's what's funny to them.
Yeah.
Pisses me off.
The esoteric nature of Batman, a character that most of your average people have never heard. You know, it's so funny that like you can bring up the most popular things now. Like you can talk about Iron Man on stage and people would be like, you nerd. And it's like, dude, those movies make billions of dollars. I don't know what's wrong with you.
Why are we pretending we're all too cool for this? What is this?
Yeah, no, seriously. Do you get superhero fatigue at all?
You know, sometimes, yeah. I used to, like, I grew up in the golden age of superhero cinema. Like,
yeah, you're a lot younger than me. You got the good stuff.
I mean, when did Spider-Man 1 came out? 2000, I think.
2002.
So, yeah, I was like 6 years old, and Batman Begins comes out in 2005. So I was 9. Like,
F you.
It was the best.
I was in college when Spider-Man came out.
Yeah, you're already on your way down.
I was like, my knees already hurt.
I do get it a little bit. I understand it from like the layman's perspective, because like I will watch a movie. Like I just finished The Penguin last night. I don't know if you watched it.
I am a couple weeks behind.
It's great. It's a great show.
It's so good.
It's so good. But there's also a part of me, the same with Marvel. Like I'm watching a show and it's so good, but the whole time I'm thinking like, oh, I wonder what little Easter eggs are going to happen. I wonder if Batman's going to show up, or, you know, they're going to hand a flyer to her and it's going to be like, come see Basil Carlo at his new show. I'm going to be like, that's Clayface. Like I am looking for shit like that. And sometimes I realize that I'm enjoying that aspect of it.
Yeah. The hunt.
The movie as a whole. Yeah.
I think why The Penguin is receiving so much sort of love is because it's not going overboard with that.
Oh yeah. It's not
because like Marvel does, and look, like I love Marvel. I have a lot of friends. I have friends that have been on the show that have written Marvel TV shows and Marvel movies and stuff like that. But there is a lot of like nudge, nudge, wink, wink to it. When I think about DC, I think about DC TV. I think about 4 shows, and those 4 shows are so insanely different and so differently good that I can't fathom why their movies are not.
Huh. Can I guess what 4 shows you think of?
Yes.
Okay. Smallville?
Nope.
Okay, good.
No, I was not a fan. No, I was not a fan of Smallville. I didn't like it.
Same.
I just didn't. I tried watching it, but I was a little bit past the CW era kind of stuff, like the teen melodrama. Like it didn't hit me the same way, unfortunately.
There was certain parts, like I liked Arrow and The Flash when it was first coming out, but I was like,
I didn't mind that one.
I was perfect age for it because I was like a horny little teenage boy, and it's made for horny kids.
Sure.
And there's also a part of that show that like I will watch a porn that's based on the Justice League for the plot and the costumes.
Yeah, like I want to know how this Wonder Woman costume is going to look.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like,
that's great.
Yeah. It looks there's a lot of openings in this Wonder Woman costume.
So I'll say this: more recent DC television.
Okay. Penguin not included.
Penguin counts. That's 1.
Penguin counts 1. Watchmen?
Yes. I believe Watchmen was a relatively flawless TV show.
Oh, I agree.
And a TV show I was like not against, but not excited for.
Yeah, same. I mean, if the writer of the source material puts a curse on you for the idea that you're gonna like
Alan Moore.
I know.
Alan Moore can shut the up. Oh, they don't like that. Okay, so I'm sorry that you took other people's characters, slightly changed them. Now you're mad that people are advancing the story. Shut the up.
Yeah, I know, right? That's so funny.
Well, Charlton characters anyway.
Yeah. Also, like I thought about the other day. Not to get to. I'm gonna guess. Okay.
Sidetrack it, man. Like
sidetrack. He wanted to make Watchmen based off Captain Atom, The Question, and
Blue Beetle.
Blue Beetle was Night Owl, and then who was the comedian?
Peacemaker, I think.
Maybe, yeah. But like he wanted to do that with those characters, and then he creates these new, very, very similar characters. If they would have just let him use Blue Beetle and The Question and stuff, would he have just bitched and moaned every time they ever showed up for the rest of time?
Probably, because he did. So I'm not sure if we did say the name out loud. Alan Moore, who's widely considered the greatest comic book writer of all time. He's also a cranky old wizard. And anytime anytime something comes out that is based in or around a thing that he has written, he is just like, I hate this. I hate everything. I'm taking a stand against it, which I understand. Like, he didn't have a great relationship with DC after the fact because of like reprint rules and things like that. And he kind of got a little bit screwed.
Yeah.
But then they'll be like, when Jeff Johns did Blackest Night, and he's like, I can't believe they took this idea that I had in 1987. And it's like, dude, you were writing Green Lantern. Like, you didn't create Hal Jordan. You didn't like, no, you don't get to do this. You didn't create these characters. You wrote a story within this massive universe. It was a good story. But
he did the same thing with Swamp Thing when Jeff Lemire wrote Swamp Thing in the New 52, where he was like, "You're just regurgitating my."
Scott Snyder, I believe, wrote Swamp Thing. Jeff Lemire wrote Animal Man, and they were both.
They were also
phenomenal.
They were both phenomenal, but they were also like of the same. They were the same.
Yeah, it was that DC dark sort of area there with like, I think I Vampire.
Yeah,
was also part of that super underappreciated story from that era.
Right? There was another one. It was all those New 52.
It was a Frankenstein agent one that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, Watchmen was so you have the Penguin and Watchmen.
Watchmen. I'm trying to think of like
actually there's 5, but I'm thinking live action.
You are thinking live action.
I am, but there's one animated, which would be pretty clear in that I'll just say it's Harley Quinn. Because I didn't give a shit about that show when it came out, watched it, and I was like, yeah, I was wrong.
Oh my God. It's one of those things. I do the same thing with Penguin where I'm like, do I love this because I love the source material and I love that I'm seeing it? Or is this actually good?
Do I love this because it's the Sopranos in the Batman world?
Yeah, exactly.
And it's like, yeah, that's awesome. Those two things I love. Yeah.
Also, there's so much there's this thing that happens. They kind of did with the Penguin where, again, sidetrack, I'm going to guess these shows, I promise.
Yeah.
Where they change stuff because the showrunners are like, well, we're not making a comic book show. We're making a gangster show. We're making a crime show. Like, I totally get that. But then why? Why make it the Penguin? Like, they changed his name to Oswald Cobb. And that bothers me so much. And I could not put it into words why. Like, I could not say why.
I like, who gives a shit? Honestly, like, that's a better name for that character. Yeah, because it might also just be Cobblepot and he goes by Cobb. But at the same time, like, it doesn't bother me. You know, like the fact that he's known as Oz. What I find interesting is that he's always been characterized as this sort of underdog who's been put upon by the higher elements of whatever society he tries to be a part of.
Yeah.
And that through sort of sheer will and brutality, he pushes himself to an area where the people that don't respect him are now forced to deal with him.
Yeah.
And like, you saw it a lot in Paul Dini and Bruce Timm's Batman the Animated Series stuff.
Yeah.
Where it would be like, he'd try to get into high society and they would reject him. So then he'd be like, this, and then he would just like kidnap someone, right? Like, I like that that is the part of him that is, I think, the most important.
Oh yeah.
And I like that they brought that into like an ugly mob world.
Oh yeah. I also love that his motivation is, I mean, it's virtually the same in every comic book, like you were saying, like to be accepted by this high society that has looked down on him his whole life and what he's willing to do to get there. I need you to finish the show.
I can't wait. Yeah, no, it's really good. Okay. So you got 2 of them.
Penguin, Watchmen, Peacemaker,
an absolute delight. Absolutely love it. Love all the characters in it. Steve Agee is such a delight. John Cena. Who would have thought John Cena would be the best wrestler actor?
Right? John Cena was on every child's t-shirt when I was in middle school. And now he is someone that, like, I love him. I adore him. I think he's like America's sweetheart. He can do no wrong. That show is so good.
I did a tweet at one point in time that was just basically like, ladies, I know you can't access John Cena the way you'd like to, but if you're looking for another big dude who's gotten into a lot of fights in jean shorts from Boston, I'm the guy.
You're looking at him.
Okay.
Is it maybe DC Universe's Swamp Thing?
No, but that was a delight. But I lament that show too much. Watchmen was a planned one season. The fact that they murdered Swamp Thing because of taxes is,
I know,
such a brutal thing. I liked that a lot, but you're on the right track.
DC, was it
It's
Titan?
definitely more of a Vertigo energy.
Oh, okay. Oh, is it Constantine, the show?
No, close. That's a good guess. No, it's Doom Patrol.
Oh, Doom Patrol. I love Doom Patrol.
Doom Patrol is a perfect show. Doom Patrol should have been watched by everybody. It's so weird.
It's so good.
So good. It's just like Doom Patrol. And it's funny because my roommate, she works in fashion. She's not in our world at all. She's just this cool lady, fashionable, whatever. She would be like, well, pick something weird to watch, like something dark. And we would watch stuff on Sunday nights. And like her favorite shows are like Penguin, Doom Patrol, like all this. Like she's just like, I love these shows. And I'm like, it's because they're amazing. And she's like, they are amazing.
There's so much that like that when my roommate this is the roommate part of the podcast. We talk about
it's roommate talk, everybody.
Jeff has cool roommates.
Jeff has one cool roommate.
My roommate is a big anime fan. Oh. And it's something I never really got into, but it's very like parallel to what I'm interested in. And we've been watching this show called Jujutsu Kaisen that I'm like really into, and we're almost at the end of the show. We've been watching it. It's like our show together. But something that I envy about the way that they develop anime shows is they pretty much take the manga and use it as a script and a frame by frame storyboard. And that is absolutely, there are so many comic books that you can read in 2 hours that should be developed just frame by frame.
And it's funny too, because when you think about what DC could have done, like they did that with the Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
That's the closest example. And the reason I kind of know that is because my good friend Jannard does background for DC animation. And he was responsible for like Wayne Manor. Wayne Manor is
background drawings for
him. Yes, he does like all he does like the background for the animation.
I thought you were saying he was like an extra or like
no. He's like he works in animation, and he's like the only image that Frank Miller had of Wayne Manor is one silhouette in one small panel. And so like it ended up being an issue where they were trying to stay so closely to that book that they actually like had to figure out a workaround to make Wayne Manor. But then you think about The Killing Joke,
dude,
and you're like, it would have been nice if you did the story story. That would have been cool.
There's so many of those. The Killing Joke is like horrifying. I can't even watch that whole Batman Batgirl thing. It's like pushing a snake's scales backwards.
Every time they do that, every time Batman and Batgirl have some form of relationship, they did it in one episode of. Yeah, they talked about it in the Batman Beyond.
Yeah, and they also talked about it in the Bruce Timm DC or the Batman and Harley Quinn like DCAU movie. Which was also bad. It's funny when you give like
that the one where Harley like takes advantage of Dick.
Yeah,
when he's
molests him.
Yes. Yeah.
It was like this weird farts in the Batmobile thing, and it's like it's one of those things that's funny to me when they take somebody like Bruce Timm and Paul Dini, and they're like, you made this great children's show that adults loved. Now we're going to give you the opportunity to make that same show, but without the restrictions of it has to be on children's television. This could be mature for the adults that you make it for. And then they do it and they make it and you're like, okay, well, reel it back, guys.
Let's reel it back a little bit. I like the mix of Dini and Tim.
Yeah, same.
But sometimes when they're not together, it's bad.
Oh, yeah. I mean, let's not forget.
Certainly very different.
Bruce Timm made his career by drawing burlesque, nude cartoon porn. And so every time you watch the Batman the Animated Series, you can tell that he's like drawing the women naked first and then putting clothes on them.
It is a very interesting way of doing that. And he's such an incredible artist, too. And such a nice guy. Yeah, just certainly didn't charge me $5 to sign an animation cell on a San Diego Comic-Con table that he was sharing with two of my very close friends who were introducing me to him. And then he's like, $5. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
I mean, it's fine. It's like, that's his rate. It was his rate at the time. And it didn't bother me, but I just thought it was really funny that he's like, oh yeah, you're friends with them. Okay, cool. $5.
It is so funny to me how many times you go to Comic-Con looking to, like, I've had incredible interactions with some of my favorite writers and artists at Comic-Con, and I've also had interactions with some of my favorite writers and artists that makes me not like them as writers and artists anymore.
So in New York Comic-Con 2019, I had my own panel.
Cool.
I had Sideshow, and the lineup was dope. It was Chris Uminga, Chrissy Zullo, Mark Brooks, Phil Jimenez. I'm blanking. Oh, Veronica Taylor from Pokemon, Ash from Pokemon.
Yeah.
And it was just this like super, Mike Drucker, the comedian and writer and everything like that. Like brutally stacked, right? And so I was with those two friends that I'm very close with, and they introduced me to a very legendary X-Men writer who I'm not going to name by names, but like the most famous X-Men writer of all time.
Okay.
And they were like, "Oh, this is Jeff. He works for, Sideshow. He's got a panel." And because he would like walked over there to talk about what their dinner plans were. And they were like, "Oh, we'd love for you to meet this guy." And he just looks at me and goes, "Okay." And then just turns back to them. And I was like, "Oh, me, right? Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. We don't have dinner plans tonight, so I should go straight to hell."
Yeah. And I will never enjoy House of M again.
Not him.
No?
Bendis? No, he's great.
Oh, Bendis. Oh, no. I'm thinking.
Wait, who wrote House of M?
I thought it was Chris Claremont.
No, he did not write House of M, or else I would have replied differently.
Okay. I figured that's the case.
I don't think he did. I think at one point in time he came back, I think, to write Extreme X-Men or something like that in the 2000s.
I guess House of M was more 2000s. He was like Phoenix Saga and stuff, right?
Yeah. So he took over pretty much the 80s into the early 90s. Yeah. Anyway, this isn't about him. It's about you.
Yeah, fuck that guy. Come on.
But yeah, no. So like, okay. So I met you, and obviously our prep time between when we scheduled this, which was last night, and this. So I was like, all right, I have to prioritize my research, because I research my show. I'm a professional. As I said, I'm a professional. I don't know if that's like a normal thing one says on a podcast, but also
based on the way you started the show, I could tell you were a professional.
I'm a totes profesh. So my friend Alan said, "Oh, I know him from Liv and Maddie." And so I was like, "What the is Liv and Maddie?" "Oh, it was this Disney Channel show," right? Disney Channel.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, well, if that's how we know him, I'm going to check it out. Man, that is a fun little show. I hate how much I liked that show.
Oh yeah?
It's a great little, it's a Hannah Montana, like that was the goal, was to like capture the Hannah Montana spirit in a slightly different way.
Yeah.
That, like Disney Channel split character is literally split, basically.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they all, every Disney Channel, you can tell in the development meeting, they were like, our current hit is this, or the hit that we just got rid of that we're trying to emulate is this.
Yeah.
So there's always, and we just happen to be we were like a mix of Hannah Montana and Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. They were like, people love twins, but they also like pop star girl. So so we did both.
So we made a twin with a pop star girl. Perfect. Yep. I started watching it. I think I watched almost the entire first season today.
Jesus Christ.
Well, because a couple of reasons. One, because I wanted to see character development. I wanted to see that. You play like the goofball brother, like the goofball middle brother, right?
Yeah. Oldest brother.
Are you the old? Because I know oldest brother, but you're the middle.
Oh, child. Right? Yeah.
Okay. And I'm watching it, and there's something I noticed, because you'll be surprised to know that I don't watch a ton of children's sitcoms.
Huh.
But here's something, and I'm wondering if this is correct. These shows are purposefully overacted, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's funny because there's something I wanted to watch that unfortunately I didn't have time to see because I got wrapped up in Liv and Maddie. That is a much more subtly acted thing, which is a movie called Sid is Dead.
Yeah.
Which has 81% on Rotten Tomatoes, by the way.
Does it really?
Yes. You seem surprised.
I don't think until now, if you would have asked me, I don't think something I've done has higher than like a 16% on Rotten Tomatoes. So that's nice.
I looked at, unless there was a glitch in my research.
Yeah. Let's not check again. Let's just go with 81.
Which would have been weird. But like, so I'm watching Liv and Maddie, and your character is essentially goofball comedy relief
Yeah.
during this, you and the youngest brother getting into adventures. It's delightful. Folks, if you do have kids, like honestly, check it out. It's like, I don't want to say this in a way that would be rude, but it's not bad.
Yeah.
For a
I
40-something-year-old man to watch and be like, and my roommate's like, you watch weird shit. And I'm like, I'm working right now.
Yeah.
But also I was like, oh, this is kind of enjoyable. And then I saw the episode with my friend Alan. He played the masked skater or something like that. Like,
oh yeah, Alan from Blast from the Past.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, that's because I had forgotten how we got. I knew Alan knew you, but I was like, that's how we got connected, right?
Yeah, right.
And I was like, oh yeah, okay, that makes way more sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're like the Joey from Blossom of that sort of interaction.
Yeah, right. And like that is the best role to have. I think people talk to me all the time because there's such a stigma against like actors that worked on Disney Channel. A lot of people assume that like I resent it or that I'm trying to break out of it or that it was, there's a lot of horrible things that happen to a lot of kids in kids.
Yeah,
television.
Boy, was that a thing I was going to delicately bring up later.
Yeah.
That you just
well, you go. Drop
it
like a producer's balls on your face.
Hey.
But I was 16, 17 when I started that show. I've been doing stand-up for like 3 years at that point.
Dude, I saw that you started stand-up at 13.
Yeah.
That's insane. Like, you got bad parents, man.
I know. But I got to do that show. And like, if any other course of my life, I do stand-up, I'm a kid. I did a few stand-up like on TV a little bit around that time. But like for the most part, my course of life was go to college, study that, try to do comedy, see what happens. But like getting on Disney Channel at 16 just diverted my life in such what a lot of people assume is negative in such a positive way. Because I got to like practice this way of acting or this kind of sitcom world, this kind of big high energy sketch.
Stand-up comedy-esque, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like very exaggerated motions and inflection. Yeah.
Yeah. And I got to like harness that at this, which is added to my stand-up, but also like has, like you said, garnered me a pretty sizable following on a lot of my social media pages, which gives me that, which really helps now. And like, when I started in comedy, my goal wasn't like, I'm going to garner this big fan base. My goal was like, I'm going to write an hour and I'm going to get a really good special and then I'll get the fan base and then I'll tour. But as you know, it's kind of switched around now. You get the fan base and then they give you the special, or you get a fan base, then you tour, then they give you the special. And I feel like I skipped a step. I was able to, I live a very.
I think you inverted a step.
Life. Yeah, maybe.
I don't think you skipped one because you worked.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
That's the other part. Like, I know that you're like, well, because I was on this Disney show, I was essentially gifted the following. And it's like, well, no, but you actually worked at a time when most people were around.
That's true.
You were going to work.
There's also like
honing skills.
I am so close with the creators of Liv and Maddie, John Beck and Ron Hart. From like season 2 on, I was spending a lot of time in the writer's room just to get like the idea of what that writer's room is like. And by the 4th season, my character did stand up. They got to do that. So I got to like write that avenue for my character. And like, does
that mean I have to watch 3 more seasons of this? I'm not against it. It's just like my time is so limited.
We end just like The Sopranos. So in the middle of a scene, in the middle of
we show the murder.
Yeah.
The whole family is taken out. It's real dark.
I did get to do, I did get to do comedy on the show. And so I like got to do the really fun thing that I've seen some friends do like in my years of doing comedy, where I would sign up for open mics as my character from the show and go up at an open mic pretending that I was the character doing the material I wrote for my character. And that was like really fun because
that's weird. That's weird. Like that's usually when people do characters, it's a fake bad character.
I know. And this character is just exactly me, just with like a different backstory.
Yeah. I was going to say even the same name.
Yeah.
Like the goat versus fish guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he seems like a nice enough guy, but do you know that guy?
No, I don't.
You ever seen him do the thing?
Somebody was talking to me about him at like the potluck or something.
I was at an event one time. It was like the Tick. I was at a Tick 30th anniversary of the cartoon screening and stuff like that. Excited about the cartoon, right?
Yeah, you and the 16 other Tick fans.
Dude, that place was packed, man. It was awesome. But that guy showed up and he started doing the bit in the line while we were waiting.
No way.
I was just like, to my friend Tom that I took with me, I was like, just don't interact with this guy. I don't have the energy for him.
It's like a Subway performer. You just kind of look away and hope for him to move on.
He can't turn off the bit. The bit sucks. It's really obnoxious. Just don't feed him. Don't feed him.
Yeah.
And again, I'm sorry if you're listening. I know you're not, because you're too busy being obnoxious at open mics. It's not going to happen for you, dude. but that's like a character that somebody created that they're like, this is going to be comedy gold.
Yeah, right.
But you go in with an established character.
Yeah, which, like I said, is exactly the only difference is that I'm like, and then my two sisters are like this. And in real life, I don't have a sister, but Joey Rooney, he's got sisters.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're exactly the same.
I mean, somebody said to me the other day, I was like, I can't remember where I was, like at the mall or something, and they recognized me, but they weren't sure it was me. And they go, I recognize you. And then I heard your high-pitched, squeaky voice. And I was like, that's got to be him. So there is I'm pretty close.
All right. You know what? I take it back. You are that nerd.
Yeah.
Does that happen a lot? The people, because I'm guessing it's people in their like early 20s.
Yeah. Which is finally, they're old. That's the thing that's, especially selling tickets wise. Like, I'm getting to a point now where the people that watched my show are coming to comedy shows. And that was a bridge I was trying to build since the show. And but
they weren't old enough to get into the clubs.
Yeah. I mean, I was just in Utah, not the weekend before that. And
I bet that's a huge hotbed for Disney Channel fans.
It is. Yeah, exactly. Because
the parents are also 19.
Yeah, exactly. The parents are also, the parents are 19, and even the eldest of adults don't watch any shows that have cleavage. So
yeah. A nice sensible cardigan on Disney Channel is how you want to go about it.
Everyone's wearing a sweater vest in this show.
Yeah, I don't like the bare arms in this one.
I got a bunch of calls from the club and a bunch of like emails from people that went and bought tickets and then were turned away because they weren't 21, or like bought tickets on the website and then didn't realize that they had to be 21, because it's still like with streaming.
It's a bar.
Yeah. But like with streaming, like kids are still watching this show. It's a little more timeless now than it used to be. Like,
wait a second. Utah doesn't have like all ages comedy clubs?
So here's the thing. They do, owned by the same people that booked me at this one, but they booked me at the 21 over one. I'm like, book me 45 minutes north and I will sell out. But then over here, all I get are Mormons that don't know who I am.
Yeah. They're bad at their job. Like, how did they not know that? Like, they're like, we got this Disney Channel store, so we're going to put them outside of the old folks' home. And we're just going to see how that goes.
I do have a lot of old people material. I love when I go to a show. And I perform at Flappers a lot, so I see a lot of elderly white hair. A lot of
old people and beautiful Mexican couples on date night. Flappers has, I don't know what it is, but all the most attractive Mexican couples on date nights are at Flappers for some reason.
Yeah, exactly.
A club that is great.
Yeah. Jay Leno is there.
He often.
Yeah.
Him and Jeff Garland, two darlings of network television.
Oh yeah, two beloved people that could perform anywhere else
if they lived anywhere else, but they live in Burbank.
Oh my gosh, I saw. Yeah, I don't know Jeff that well, but I did do a show with him at West Side. This was like 6 or 7 years ago, and I hadn't met him. He goes up on stage. There's two lesbians in the front row, and he abandoned all his material to ask why one lesbian always got to look like a man. What is that?
Good one, Jeff. Got him, Jeff.
Got him, Jeff. And then he lost them. Like, this was like his opening bit. Lost him, had like 30 minutes left, and he did not get him back. He just kept going with the bit that wasn't working.
That was Damon Wayans.
Really?
Damon Wayans did a set that was almost all like, there should be a gay NFL. And it wasn't like a clever way to do that. It wasn't like if a gay person did a bit about there should be a gay NFL and you'd be like, that's good insight. It's just like a guy that's like, boy, did I peak in 1991. I'm going to do all that material again. And
I'm sitting there. Silly.
Yeah. He's like, because then they'd be like this. And I'm like, although he did have the best heckle came at him at that point in time, though. And like, I'm not a big fan of hecklers, except this one girl in the audience just goes, "Why is that funny?" And I was like, that's the perfect heckle.
Yeah.
Make him explain that gay people talk with a lisp in his mind exclusively.
It's also funny to explain a bit like that isn't funny, because then you have to like dissect it yourself and realize that like, oh, the only funny part of this bit is that maybe I'm doing a gay voice in an environment where you don't see gay people very often.
I was famous for doing gay voices on In Living Color, so
why is it funny?
Gay voice.
Did you see White Chicks? Case closed.
I did see White Chicks. He's not in White Chicks.
Isn't he? They're all
wrong Wayans. That's Sean and Marlon. But
too many Wayans.
Yes, he was the second oldest of the Wayans men.
How
so
many
we're talking
30,
Mo Money,
35?
Bulletproof with Adam Sandler, My Wife and Kids, I believe, sitcom wise. I will say this: I saw him previously, and he murdered. He was doing a great bit about how he had diabetes, and there was like a great. And then all of a sudden he gets up on a stage and apparently the material dissolved in his head. And he's just like, I'm to be rabid homophobe right now.
Yeah, that's happened. There's a lot of older comedians that like go, I'm going to go be right wing real quick because it's a little easier.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of a talking podcast this is.
Talk you go ahead, man.
There's this comedian that, how do I put this? You can figure it out. He used to be known for being very manly. And he is not hosting a late night show, if that paints who I'm talking about. But Adam Carolla was doing.
Don't get me started. Oh, that fucking.
He was in the green room and he was talking about how he's running his Dry Bar special. And Dry Bar, for those that are listening, is like a family friendly comedy source. Like you go there for stand-up specials that you can watch with your kids. Yeah. And that's the idea.
It's the Laps USA network on Sirius.
Yeah.
Not Raw Dog.
I asked him, I was like, no offense. I don't know him that well. I've only met him like once or twice before. And I was like, but I don't think of you necessarily as a comedian with clean, like family friendly material. And he goes, yeah, I'm going to do the voice. He was like, yeah, well, I got a lot of material. It's not like dirty. It's just people think it's dirty because of the subject matter. And then I was like, okay, yeah. And I was like, well, I'm excited to go see your Dry Bar special. And then I watched 30 minutes of the most Islamophobic material I have ever seen in my entire life. I was like,
he's a successful hack.
Yeah, a successful bigot.
Yes.
I feel like I'm at a rally right now.
I have a friend who's a friend with his and does his podcast. And he was like, oh, I was on the Adam podcast. And I was like, really? Really?
All from grace.
Okay, man. Have fun. Embrace it, I guess.
At Adam Carolla's Christmas party last year, which I got invited to as a +1.
I brought a Muslim.
I brought a beautiful Muslim man. I was talking to these two guys that ended up being Theo Von and somebody else's manager. And I was just like stuck in a conversation because my friend was talking to them.
They're like, hey, you like guys who suck?
Yeah. They're talking about how Tucker Carlson was on Theo Von's podcast. And I just like in the conversation, I thought they were like talking about how Tucker Carlson is. And I was like, oh my God, I just adore Tucker Carlson. And they go, really? And I was like, no, he's a Nazi. I hate him. He's the worst person alive. Yeah. Turns out they all love Tucker Carlson at the Adam Carolla Christmas party. They are big fans of Nazis.
They love a man who hates the country and everybody that doesn't look like him.
Yeah, exactly.
A man who has convinced people that he is manly in a bow tie. A man who can punch his way out of a paper bag.
But I am willing to put it on the record. I do hate Tucker Carlson. So.
I'll put it on record. I hate Theo Von. Like, I don't give a shit. What am I going to do? Lose that big Theo Von group? Oh yeah, we gotta use our road rules fame.
There's a story that I haven't told, and I'm not going to tell on this podcast, but I will tease it, that it's just too hard to get into. I was doing comedy in LA. I first started coming down here when I was like 15, doing comedy for like 2 years, like very, very, not very long doing comedy. And I met Theo Von and we hit it off and we were just talking at the Improv a few times. And he helped me get involved with this Xbox commercial I did. Like we were like friends.
Yeah.
And he, anyway, asked me to like help him out with this project he was doing. I was in high school at the time. I was failing all my classes and I needed to get my grades up before the end of the semester, whatever. High school nonsense.
Yeah. You're like, I'm in high school. I'm a child still. I don't know if you knew that.
I'm but a boy. And I texted him, like, I read it. I still have it on my phone. I texted him like, hey man, I know you asked me to do this thing, but I'm really swamped in school right now and I had to move back home, blah, 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 blah. I can't do this thing you asked me to do. And he texted me back the most vile, like, you let me down. You're terrible to work with. I'll make sure you're never hired again. And then my response is like that of, I told you I was not going to tell the whole story, and I'm telling the whole story.
It. He's not going to hear this.
My response is like a little boy. I'm like, please, you're like the only friend I know down there. I really don't want, like, it was so sad.
Because you were a child.
I was a child. And
don't make fun of yourself. Give yourself some grace. You were a child.
I was. And for years after this, I was embarrassed about that. And I felt like I let somebody down. And only recently in therapy have I told that story and realized, like, I would never, ever talk to a child the way that he talked to me then. There's nothing that could happen that would make me talk to somebody that is not my son the way he talked to me.
He sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that does happen. Sorry if you guys are Theo Von fans and you still listen to my show. I don't know how that happened.
Well, what's that Venn diagram look like?
I will say that one of my very good friends, like, loved him from like earlier in comedy, but she hasn't accepted the fact that he is a huge piece of shit. And so every time she's like, oh, I don't know, I really like that guy. I'm like, why? He hates you and everything you stand for.
Yeah.
Like, he's a bad person. He not only does he vote against you, but he platforms the people that are trying to ruin your life.
Oh, yeah.
He had Trump on his podcast. What do you like about him?
Yeah, he had Trump and Tucker Carlson. He's just...
Did you love him in Road Rules and you can't let that go?
Yeah, big fan of the MTV bad boy, Theo Von.
Yeah. I jumped out of a plane, dude. You're a piece of shit. F you, dude. Hey, speaking of people that aren't pieces of shit, though, I don't know if you know this, but I do have producers. And if you head on over to patreon.com/Jeff May and you sign up for any of the producer tiers, you can, for a very small amount of money, have me say your name or most likely a sentence on here. And so
I should have done that, dude. I should have done that right before.
I should have signed up and then been like, huge dong. The show's brought to you by Joey Bragg's massive dong. Here's what I'm going to say. I know for a fact somebody is going to change their producer name to Joey Bragg's massive dong.
Hell yeah.
They'll do that. They love a bit.
That's the kind of impact I want to have in Hollywood.
This massive dong impact.
Yeah, I want a crater.
Don't we all? But yeah, patreon.com/Jeff May gets you not only early access to uncensored episodes with bonus content, but some of you get me to say your names out there. For example, a big shout out to Call Me Sean or whatever. A big shout out to the Oatmeal Savage. Are you an oatmeal fan?
Yeah, when I have to be.
Do you like, I go through waves of oatmeal.
Yeah, if I'm working out, it's supposed to be the thing you eat like before you go to the gym in the early morning.
Yeah.
But also I'm not a horse, so I don't love it.
Like a big, you got to zhuzh it up a little bit, right?
Yeah, but raisins. Then I'm just eating brown sugar and raisins. I mean, they outnumber the oatmeal 6-1.
Drizzled trail mix in there, right? Like,
yeah.
You're like, why don't I just eat the trail mix then?
Yeah, and now you can put it in a bar. They can make bars. I'm going to do that. It's always
a Cliff Bar.
Yeah, I'm a Cliff Bar of Belvita. You ever have one of those bad boys?
Oh, dense.
Yeah, dense.
Dense. A big shout out to watch me use these prehensile nipples to pick up pennies off the floor. By the way, not the first nipple conversation we're going to have here, just as a heads up. They love the nipples in here. How about check out this month's episode of Nerd with Dre and Jeff, where we're finally going to be covering something wrestling related. That's right, everybody. This month's Nerd is going to be wrestling related. Shout out to normal man Andrew McGuire, whose name I question by having to say that they are a normal man. A big shout out to Dan Hackroyd, Norm from Cheers. Did you ever watch Cheers?
Yeah, I did. I was a big Frasier fan.
Frasier's fun.
I loved, but before now you watch it and you're like, oh, this is just a silly show about people that definitely will have voted for Trump if they had the chance.
Oh no, they would have been like weird third-party voters or something.
Yeah,
like, the dad would have voted for Trump.
Oh yeah,
I can't believe you would vote for a man that would take away your rights. You already took away my rights. I'm old. Like some like that.
That was great. I feel like I'm watching an episode right now, Jeff.
You are, actually.
I was.
Here, I'm going to unshare screen. And there I am. I'm back. It's me now. Yeah. I bet you thought I was that dog Eddie from Frasier. Yeah. Shout out to Bart Fartigan. Shout out to Lemming Malloy Returns. You're having a blast with these.
I love this. This is great.
Shout out to...
creative.
The To Be Terror Bunny thinks you should watch the Puss in Boots sequel. It's surprisingly good. I would like to add that sometimes people just like to pay money to promote other people, like DreamWorks is like, man, we're losing money on Puss in Boots.
Yeah, there's been an uptick in the graph of the Puss in Boots. It's on
there. That Jeff has cool friends bump.
Yeah. Honestly, I've heard the Puss in Boots sequel. I think it's Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
Yeah, I've heard it's incredible.
Yeah. I've been trying to get my girlfriend to watch it, and she is like, no, I'm not going to watch Puss in Boots animated movie. I'm like, I got to wait for her to get COVID or something. She doesn't.
Did you see Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio?
No, I didn't.
Dude.
Is it good?
Brutally good.
Okay.
But
I do love Guillermo. He hasn't made something I don't like yet, except for maybe.
I think he won an Oscar for it, right?
Did he?
I think he did. Because he did a whole thing about how animation isn't just for children, and that like when he won, he's just like, this was a good example of how animation is not this kid's thing, but it's a beautiful form of art. It was like this good thing. But he said it in Guillermo voice, which I'm not going to do.
Do it.
Don't cancel me.
Yeah, we're still allowed to do
We'll have to beep that whole part. You'd have to listen to the Patreon to hear me do a Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah. You want to cancel me? Pay for it.
Yeah. You want to cancel me? Cancel your subscription first. Oh, no, don't do that. Shout out to Mr. Billy Beck, who actually was very excited to come to the show, but then he got sick. So we're hoping he feels better. Shout out to my best friend Burrito. Shout out to Aldo Vargas is adding Jeff Has Cool Friends producer to his resume, which again, I will lie. Give him my contact information. They'll think it's weird that your old boss has a comedy in their Gmail account name, but do it.
Is that bad? Is sending like a resume to a real job is like Joey Bragg, stand-up comedy at gmail.com. Yeah.
Comedy at gmail.com. You produced his podcast. Yeah. Actually, no, that works. That works. You produced a podcast. That's awesome. Shout out to that scene in Lost City where Brad Pitt dies. Huge fan. Used to be brought to you by that scene in Meet Joe Black where Brad Pitt dies, but we've evolved.
Oh, when he dies in Meet Joe Black, it's like hilarious.
It's a bit. It's a good bit.
Yeah. It's a funny bit. It's funny that movie is like very serious, except for like one time he gets hit by the car and then he speaks patois to that woman, and both of them are hilarious. Not supposed to be.
But I will say this: what a good era! What a good era of film that we kind of don't have anymore, which is like weird ass melodrama.
Yeah.
Like we don't get City of Angels anymore. We don't get these movies that are good, maybe. Like, like it is.
What was that movie where Angelina Jolie got delivered the wrong son after her son went missing?
Changeling.
Yeah.
You know who wrote that?
No.
J. Michael Straczynski.
Really?
Yeah, famed comic book and
the
animated
man who gave
writer.
Wonder Woman pants?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I think Wonder Woman got pants in the 1970s by Denny O'Neil. And
that doesn't count though. That was when she was like depowered and like weird, a spy.
Yeah. But yes, J. Michael Straczynski, creator of Babylon 5.
Fun fact, J. Michael Straczynski was writing Spider-Man when I was a kid, reading the ongoing Spider-Man stuff. I sent him an email saying, I love Spider-Man, you're the coolest. Didn't ever respond. And then Dan Slott took over and started writing Spider-Man. And I sent him an email to spite J. Michael Straczynski. And then Dan Slott and I became pen pals. So
you know Dan?
Kinda.
Dan's been trying. I've been trying to get him on the show for so long, but we can't mix it. I've known Dan forever.
I had this moment where I auditioned for Spider-Man for the MCU.
I could totally see it, dude.
So could I have. I auditioned for Spider-Man and then I got.
You look like Peter Parker.
Yeah, right? I thought so too.
You really do look like Peter Parker, but you do not flip like Tom Holland.
No, I do not.
He's pretty good at being Spider-Man, not gonna lie.
He had both legs up on me in that audition. But Dan Slott started following me on Twitter like the day after or the day of my callback for Spider-Man. And so I sent him a DM and I was like, hey man, do you know something I don't? And then he was like, no, dude, we used to be pen pals. I just started following you. Nothing to do with that.
Do you remember? He's on I have a very rare PSA 10 quad signed. And he's one of the people that signed it.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's weird.
Who are the other three?
Zeb Wells, Dan Kibblesmith, and Todd Knock.
Neato.
And 3 of the 4 of those are like friends. So that's why I had it signed and slabbed. And then it came back at 10. And it's a funny story. I'll mention it on the past because Zeb Wells is also a buddy of mine, but he didn't know that I was grading it. And so he personalized it with an insult. And so it's graded a 10, but it's signed by Zeb that says, Jeff, I know you can't read.
Yeah, you can't sell that.
No, it's Schrodinger's 10 because it's both a quad sign CGC 10 is worth low 4 figures.
Wow.
But also it's worth nothing.
Yeah.
Because it's personalized. Unless somebody's name is Jeff. There's
some dyslexic guy named Jeff is going to be like, perfect.
This is everything I needed.
I also can't read.
Did you see Dan's the episode? Remember when they did those like the Marvel behind the scenes vignettes on Disney Plus, like the little like inside Marvel ones, and they did one about Dan Slott?
No, I didn't.
And it's about him writing Iron Man 2020 and stuff. And it was like a profiles thing, but I was like, oh, this is really fun. Then I was like, because my other very close friend is Christos Gage, who's like Dan's parachute, so to speak. Like when Dan's in over his head, they call in Chris to like work dialogue with him and like finish and flesh out the story. They're really writing partners.
Good job.
So I was like, oh, this is interesting. And then I saw Christos show up and I was like, oh, Dan was having a hard time. Christos showed up to fix it. Christos also wrote the Spider-Man video game.
Oh, really?
The PlayStation one.
Yeah, which is fantastic.
Yeah, so really, really great stuff.
I mean, Dan Slott had to have written like at least 150 issues of, if not more, of Amazing Spider-Man.
I think Dan and Zeb, Dan is great. I think Zeb is a massively underrated writer, but I also think that Spider-Man fans are also, this is gonna whiny babies who hate when anything is different than the thing that they consumed when they were 11.
Yeah. That's so true with every fandom. Most fans hate the thing they're a fan of.
They want their passy, is what they want their pacifier, and they want to be told everything's going to be okay and that they don't have to pay taxes and bills anymore.
Yeah.
That's why their favorite Star Wars is the one they watched when they were 6.
Yeah, I do this bit that's the same about like people always think music peaked whenever they peaked.
Yeah.
Like music was the best when I was the happiest. It's like how it works. It's the same with every kind of medium. It's like people I want Star Wars to be like it was back then. I'm like, no, what you want is to watch Star Wars, go home, have your mom make you SpaghettiOs, and then go to sleep thinking about it without a care in the world. But now you have taxes and rent.
Now you know about
bills. Yeah, now you know about what's happening in Gaza. You can't enjoy Spider-Man the same way.
Spider-Man's twisted. And you didn't know that Star Wars was about Vietnam and that the rebels were the Vietnamese.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't know that.
Isn't it funny how Luke Skywalker's story parallels so many like Middle Eastern terrorists?
So, I used to teach Islam, and that's one of the things that we had established about the concept of terrorism that I had to remind them, because I was a teacher from 2000, like the beginning of 2004 to the end of 2012. Right.
Oh, wow.
So and I taught world history and I taught Islam and I taught in an all white red patch of Massachusetts.
Huh.
And I had to explain, I was like, yeah, I understand that you think of terrorism when you think of Islam because of 9/11, but also pilots flying ships into government buildings and blowing them up is also the plot of Star Wars.
Yeah. And also what's happening a lot from a bunch of different countries constantly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all perspective. But it is very funny. I did have a viral tweet that it's like, what an amazing coincidence that the best music ever made is specifically the stuff I listened to between the ages of 15 and 25. It's crazy. Yeah. It's crazy that happened, but I'm so lucky. And then people would quote that and they'd be like, yeah, man, he gets it.
Yeah.
But people didn't know that I was being ironic.
Yeah. And that the bit is that's when life was easiest and most fun for me.
Yeah. That reality. Anyway, the show is also brought to you by the ghost of Dave Thomas. A big shout out to I'm going to start calling Yoda Old Grogu just to see what happens. Our penultimate producer is Funky J Mostly, comes out at night. In a big final thank you and congratulations, because he's great, to the Jolly Holly Christmas Fools wandering unpierced left nipple cider served at room temperature. La 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 la. Hey, this is the season. If you want to be a producer and you want me and my guests to talk about and or joke about and or interrupt your name, head on over to patreon.com/Jeff May for the ability to do that.
I did not realize that I had sidetracked in the middle of your reading
That's
producers.
fine. That's this.
That's
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. They're gonna be so mad.
They're gonna be so
All
nipple guy.
these
The nipple guy at the end. He's gonna be like, "You waited last."
Dude, that guy's the nicest guy. He has driven the Jolly Holly Christmas Fools wandering on Pierce left nipple cider served at room temperature. La, 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 la. He has come to Mint on Card several times, and he lives like 2.5 hours away.
Oh wow!
And has come by to like drop off like really nice gifts and things like that. Like the nicest dude.
That happens to me sometimes. Or like I was in Pittsburgh a couple weekends ago,
and they brought you a sandwich with everything on it. Every side item you could get, they delivered a sandwich with it on.
All different kinds of mustard. This girl came and she was like, "I flew on a plane to come here. I'm from Pennsylvania, or she's from somewhere on the East Coast. I was in Pennsylvania, whatever." She flew there. She flew to see me. Like, got on a plane for 2.5 hours and flew to see my show. And I was like, "Let me reimburse you because this is not going to be worth it. This is not."
Yeah.
I love what I do and I'm proud of what I do, but like as long as I'm 10 minutes away, as long as you can get home within the hour and a half that my show is supposed to be.
I've told people too, like, and it's, you know, because like sometimes I'll do East Coast stuff when I go back home and I'll be like, all right, like I'm not doing a lot of shows because I'm home. I want to be with my family. I want to be with my friends, but I'm going to do 3 shows while I'm home. One in Worcester, Massachusetts. I'll do one in, New Hampshire at a comic shop. And then I'll do one in like Portland, Maine. Right. I'm going to be like, I'm going to make myself accessible for you. I had one dude coming in from like Vermont to New Hampshire. Wow. And he's like messaging me on Instagram, like, please don't start the show. I'm like 15 minutes away. And I was like, yeah, we can wait. Like, we'll wait for you. Like,
you clearly have done far more than I would have done for you. So yeah, I will wait.
Dude, I had one time when we did the New York Comedy Festival, which was like right before the Trump election. Somebody, I was like, I'll find my way home somehow. And somebody like volunteered to like bring me from New York to Massachusetts because they're like, yeah, we're going right by there. And they took me home.
So nice.
I was going to take the train or something. They're like, oh, don't drive you. Huh. It's like, well, Jesus Christ. All right.
Say what you will about the Trump election, but it brought Americans closer.
The election hadn't happened yet.
I was kidding anyway.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not true.
Things were bad.
Things are real.
It is wild to see, like, I've done shows in San Diego and people were like, I drove here from Phoenix. Mm-hmm. Because they're like, because you don't come to Phoenix. And I'm like, that's true. I don't, because it's Phoenix.
It's the Florida of the West Coast.
Yeah. It's like, it is hard to make it, especially when like, I don't do clubs because I'm an ass. No, I just like doing independent stuff. Like my dream, you're going to like this. Actually, you'll love this. So my dream, and it's actually a show that I pitched, a television show. We should pitch this. Okay. Called the Comic Store Comics Tour. And the idea was that the show that I pitched was a travel doc studying comic book store culture in various areas and stand up. And every show was going to be done in or with conjunction of a comic book shop. Cool. That's such a cool idea. Yeah. Yeah. They didn't. Yeah. And then A&E was like, no. It was a great company that I'd worked with before. We had a show and then we got our show taken away. The show is Antiques Roadshow at Comic-Con, basically. Spoiler alert. I don't know. Did I sign an NDA for that? They wouldn't mind. I feel like I've seen that show. It almost happened. And then it's a weird kind of like confluence of things happened. That's not important. But they said, look, we want to work with you. If you have any ideas for shows, just let us know first. Like, please, like we'll work with you. You saw how we worked with you before. Great company. But then I like came up with this idea and they're like, all right, well, just film a sizzle reel and then, get some footage and give us a proof of concept. And I'm like, wait, you want me to film a documentary? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to spend a couple $1,000 to see if you guys like what I'm explaining to you right now. Yeah. With me and a couple people in a car filming on what? Like an old RCA camcorder? Like, I guess phones, but like also, and I was like, no, never mind.
That would be such a good. I every single city I go to, I stop by the local comic book store. I see which one is like the best. I go on Reddit and I ask them, and it is more often than not such a different. I mean,
they're like, so different.
They're so different. I just went to one in Portland last weekend, and God, I wish I could remember what it was called. It was really cool. It was on the east side of Portland, but it was like a back issues comic book store with like they had new issues that was coming in. But
the store I worked at was like a back issue haven.
And this was like in LA, these comic book stores are closing by the dozen. Like all these ones that I grew up going to are going out of business. And this guy,
I know you follow House of Secrets though.
I know they were burglarized.
That's my spot.
That was my spot for most of my LA life.
Yeah, and then you moved?
And then I moved to North Hollywood. Honestly,
Collector's Paradise.
That's where I get my pull list is now because I can walk there from my house. But
we're like neighbors, dude.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You actually live right near my boxing gym.
Oh, Prevail?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I do live right there. I'm Vineland, and I shouldn't say.
Oh, dude, we're mega neighbors because I live like, who gives a nobody's going to actually find me. I live 2 blocks up, 1 over from Circus Liquor.
Oh, nice. I used to live 1 block left of Circus Liquor, and then I moved 1.5 miles. I'm like Lancashire and Vineland intersection.
You're in the nightmare.
I'm in the nightmare.
You're in hell. You're also near the best sandwich that I've ever had in LA that is not the Godmother.
Where?
You live near Highmart.
You've had sandwich theirs are good?
Highmart has their pastrami Ben's Way is like one of the best sandwiches I've ever had.
Oh, dude, I'll get it tomorrow.
Ben's pastrami. I'll tell you what. I will tell you this. Why don't I grab you a sandwich? Let's go get a sandwich tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm down.
We'll do it at like 2 or 3 o'clock or something like that.
Yeah.
All right. Perfect. Yeah. We'll hit it up. We'll get a sandwich there.
Look at that. Jeff
Absolutely.
Does have cool
Absolutely. Like I delight in that idea, actually.
Oh, that'd be great.
Honestly, it's one of my favorite sandwiches of all time. People can attest. I talk about it a lot.
All right. I don't even think I've set foot in there. But comic book store wise, though, speaking of ones that have gone out of business, I went from House of Secrets. I moved to North Hollywood, and House of Secrets is still like I go there all the time. It's still like I love Leland and Amy, and
Leland's one of my best friends.
Oh, really? I've literally been going there since I was 13. Like that. My mom, when me and my dad came down to LA for the first time, we spent like $100 at House of Secrets. And my mom saw it on the credit card statement, and she thought my dad went to like a porn store or like a brothel or something. She was like, "Why did you spend $100 at House of Secrets?"
Funny story. They have the best bench. They have a Plastic Man bench.
They do, the Plastic Man bench. It's so good. It didn't used to be Plastic Man, right? Oh no,
by the time I arrived in 2012.
Okay, that's about the same time.
It was Plastic Man, yeah.
I think their rain gutter used to be Mr. Fantastic. Also.
Perfect. Oh, I love it.
But I was going to House Secrets for the longest time. I love Leland. I love the sense of the community. But then Neil Adams opened
the Krusty
Bunker, which I love. I love the Denny Neil Adams like era of comic books. But
for God's sakes, Ra's al Ghul and
what I really loved about Neil Adams' Krusty Bunker is that their pull list was 25% off the comics and free bags and boards, and that is like
why, right?
Because they definitely are out of business now, so it didn't work.
Well, they're out of business because he
is dead.
He's dead. I'll tell you why later.
I also, I had some experiences there, like with his son, that were not the best.
The reality of that is that they knew that if they got you in there, that you would buy something that took 3 seconds to sign that cost, $80 to $140.
Yeah.
And so like they knew that if by giving you pull list benefits, that there's a chance you're going to buy premium autos on stuff that costs nothing for them.
Well, didn't work because that place is liquidated.
That's not why it's fine. Hey, quick question. Going from a job where you forcibly had to overact, was that a hard process to break? Yeah,
it's still a hard process to break. Yeah. I think it's there's something that like feels very overacty in a sitcom when you're a child. Like when you watch a child act in a sitcom, they are so big and everything's, oh, come on, mom. But like,
it's also 3 camera sitcoms are overacty anyway.
That's what I was going to say. Like the overacting comes from that you're watching kids, but then you watch like, King of Queens
Watch Friends.
Watch Friends. It's big. Like it's sketchy. And I got to do another sitcom. I did 13 episodes. We were canceled after season 1 of a
Kira
sitcom.
Sedgwick.
Kira Sedgwick called Call Your Mother. And that
did my
was
research.
You're good at it. You're very good. But it was like still in my head now. Like I would get notes about like, this isn't Disney Channel or you're overacting. But it's a lot of the time I probably do it. But there's also this sort of stigma around people that the directors know I'm from Disney Channel. And so they're like looking for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they are aware that that's my origin story. And so now they watch it and they're trying to like unteach me those lessons that I learned. But realistically, I think it's a fine line between overacting on a sitcom and acting the right amount on a sitcom.
Because I watched the trailer for Sid is Dead and I'm going to watch the movie. I am.
But thank you.
Well, yeah, but it's like I like support. If I can give another eye, like you guys should watch it too that are listening. Like fucking let's get some more eyes on this thing, right? Like
the thing is that movie came out during the pandemic.
I was gonna say that looks like a pandemic era flick.
It also came out during the strike, so I legally could not promote this movie. I couldn't write it. It was a very frustrating time to have a movie premiere because I couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, but the acting from what I saw looks more cinematic. It looks much more reserved and much more like that. And so you can imagine me going from watching 7 or 8 episodes of Liv and Maddie to then, watching this trailer and being like, all right, let's make sure I get all this stuff because I can't watch the actual movie right now. I don't have 2 hours. And watching the trailer and being like, first off, yeah, this looks good. But it's sort of like, Gen Z bucket list, essentially. Yeah. But like, I looked at it and I was like, man, I bet it was hard to be subtle if you had to spend 6 to 8 years of pushing subtlety away.
Yeah.
That must have been really hard. Like I noticed that.
And there are certain lines too that like I read, I wish I could remember one right now, but like there were certain lines that I would read in the script and you read it, you're like, oh, that's so funny. That's such a perfect delivery. But then there's something about the like sitcom actor in me and the comedian in me that's like, this is a really funny joke. How do I make it the most funny? How do I play this joke up? When in reality, the humor of that joke comes from the writing. You just have to be earnest about it.
You have to deliver it well.
Yeah. And it's a lesson that I'm still learning. I mean, even if I do improv with a group, which I did the whole UCB gamut.
Yeah.
I am constantly thinking like, oh, I want to get a laugh. Oh, I want to make a joke here. How do I do that? And like, there is a beauty to be said that like sometimes you let the comedy happen while you're the passenger, as opposed to you're driving the comedy around.
I think the best way to discuss that, to really dissect that, is be Ghostbusters 1984, not Ghostbusters 2016.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know that sounds like cruel, but the reason Ghostbusters 2016 is bad is not because women are in it, but because it's so overacted and it's the comedy is so Paul Feig. And you look at 1984 and you're like, oh, the comedy is in the fact that it's deadpan and that it's delivered in these certain ways. It's not ostentatious. It's not in your face. It's funny because the scenario that they're stuck in is funny, and the way they handle these things and the way they deliver their lines without trying to be funny, I guess.
I think one of my favorite comedic performances of all time is Charles Grodin in Midnight Run.
So good.
It's so good. And it is like I showed it to a friend of mine who doesn't watch movies that often, hadn't seen a lot. And I was trying to explain to her that like, this is so funny. And like the thing that he is doing that is like subverting the jokes, and it's also conversational and also dry, is like an art in and of itself, that he can do that, be so genuine, be so funny, and still be saying something that like on paper is just a conversation.
Yeah.
That is gift. Jason Bateman.
Oh, Jason Bateman's a great example of that too. Yeah. Arrested Development's a great version.
Oh yeah.
Another one that I think people wouldn't immediately think fall into that category because of the style of the film, but is Airplane.
Yeah.
Airplane is played straight.
Even all the Naked Gun movies.
Yeah, because they play them straight.
Yeah. And there's something that like used to bother me because I still get that. Like David Spade said, you spend your whole career pigeonholing yourself and the rest of your career trying to escape that pigeonhole. And that's
did he say that to you while you guys were on the film Father of the Year?
No, he said that to somebody else who quoted him saying that to me. I don't even know if it's something he actually said, but it resonated with me.
But that's because you were on the film Father of the Year with David.
I was.
Is that correct?
In the film. I played David's son. Research.
He researches, baby.
But there's also a big difference between like you can act big. And there are people in the world that are characters. There are people that we all meet, like Alan from Hangover or Melissa McCarthy from Bridesmaids. They are big characters where they are taking big swings, making big jokes, doing ridiculous slapsticky stuff. But it's funny because it's genuine and earnest, and we all know people that are like that.
Yeah, I know some loud, obnoxious people.
Yeah?
I certainly am not the one in the group that is that. That's for damn sure. Other people are loud and obnoxious and take up too much space, but not me.
I worry sometimes that I'm Alan from The Hangover. My friends just bring me around to get a kick out of me. But
I carry that backpack too. Don't worry.
I just think that there's like this thing that people think about where they're like, oh, that's really big or it's very broad. But sometimes you meet somebody like, especially doing comedy, sometimes an audience member will come up to me and I'll be like, you're the funniest person I've ever met. And you're not actively trying to be funny. You're just an outrageous personality. And those people exist. And it's about harnessing that and not just making a caricature of a human being.
Yeah. The two funniest people I've ever met have regular jobs.
Yeah, same.
Well, to be fair, one of them is my brother, and his job is he works for an independent wrestling streaming channel. So I don't necessarily know if that's like a normal job, but like he is legitimately one of those people that I'm jealous of how effortlessly funny and quick he is.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty quick and like I'm pretty funny, but like he's so funny that I was just like, please be a writer.
Yeah, right. I have a friend like that too. I'm begging him to do a podcast with me because I did this podcast that I'm not doing anymore. And I was like, dude, I don't laugh hard at anybody unless it's like, I don't laugh as hard as I do when him and I are having a conversation with anybody. And that's like the magic of a podcast is you get that energy. And he's just like, nah, I don't really want to put myself out.
I don't want to do that. I asked my nephew is really funny. And I asked him if he ever wanted to get into comedy, I would help him out. And he's just like, no, I'm good. And I was like, hey, you, dude.
Yeah. I will say the path that I took in my life, which is monetizing the thing that I feel like makes me me and turning the thing that I feel like is the biggest piece of my personality into a career has definitely made me have this like warped sense of self and career that I can't untether from each other. Like if I'm not funny or if I'm having a bad day, I'm not like, oh, I'm having a bad day. I'm like, oh, I'm having a bad day. And this means that I'm not good at my job. And I can't like, it is difficult to get into a job where our whole thing is that we have to be funny.
It's an easy way to spiral. We have to wrap up. So I do want to say that you all should be following Joey on social media at Joey Bragg, JoeyBragg. Definitely check out Sid is Dead because I will. We can commiserate in the comments about how much we liked it. If you've got young ones, Liv and Maddie, delightful show. He said about the Disney Channel.
I was going to say that's the raunchiest review we've ever gotten.
Raunchy. Aggressive. It's an aggressive. Are you still in contact with the other actors and stuff, or did you all just kind of be like, yeah, we just do our own thing now?
No, I'm most of the actors on that show that are the heavily recurring guest stars, or we're all like such a tight knit group of friends. I was like best man at their wedding. I saw them last night for my friend Shelby's birthday. Like we are all still very, very, very.
Love that. That's awesome.
Which doesn't happen.
What else should we check out? I mean, joeybraggcomedy.com. That's one, right?
Yeah, but I'm not good at updating my website.
Websites are hard. Do people even use websites anymore? Or is it just apps?
Yeah, I think it's just apps and widgets. What are we doing? Apps, widgets?
But you do talk about upcoming shows on there, I guess.
Yeah.
You schedule that. You're on Cameo.
I am on Cameo.
How many of those do you do a week?
It depends. It ebbs and flows. I just raised my price from $20 to $30 like 3 days ago, and I have since not gotten a single request. So I think I'm going to go back to $20, nice and cheap.
Meet him in the middle, 25. Don't sell yourself short.
Thanks, Jeff.
25 is a good number. It's not technically round, but it's roundish. It has the illusion of round.
Yeah, 25 makes people think a little bit more than 20. I think 30 is like getting close enough to 50 that people are like, that's significant.
25 is a percentage, like that's a number people are familiar with. That's a kind of cents, that's a coin. 25 is a coin. 20 is not a coin. No. It's a bill, but not a coin.
Yeah, it is a bill. And it's a big bill. It's usually the biggest bill people carry. So you have to be willing. Like if you saw a homeless man on the street, you wouldn't be like, hey, can you make a video for me for a minute and I'll give you $20? You'd be like, I'm overpaying this guy to make a video. I'm just that.
That's exactly what I do. So I'm a little offended that you said that that's a bad idea. But did I cover all of our plugs? What else do we have? where should we point people?
Yeah, I'm on all the I need to be better about Instagram, TikTok. I was going to film a TikTok tomorrow if all goes according to plan.
Well, you're doing great. You're killing it. You're a really nice guy. Check him out live if you can. Check out the website where you can see where he is and you can be like, you know where I know you from? And if they have like white in their beard, you'll be like, I hope it's Jeff Has Cool Friends and not Liv and Maddie. Really hope it's not from Liv and Maddie. If you are a member of patreon.com/Jeff May, please do stick around because I'm going to be playing little games with Joey, a little bit of Patreon bonus content. And then we're going to let him go because we did go a little longer than I thought, but because I like talking to you.
We're friends, baby. Look at us.
And on top of that too, if you want to check out more of my stuff, patreon.com/Jeff May gets you not only that, but Nerd with Dre and Jeff, early access, plus Ugg Fine with Kim Crawl. Tom and Jeff watch Batman on the Gamefully Unemployed Network. Might have a guest on that soon. Who knows?
Cool. Who knows?
And you can also check out all the stuff I do with Adam Todd Brown on the You Don't Even Like Podcasts Network. Mint on Card is the second Friday of every month at Blast from the Past in beautiful Magnolia in Burbank, California, except December 6th, which is the first Friday of the month, because the 13th would be a bad time to do a stand-up comedy show. We learned that lesson our first year where we're like, what if we don't do the second Friday in December because everyone's either gone or they've already bought gifts. But if we do the first Friday, they buy gifts for people that they didn't needed. It's brilliant.
You ever gotten that weekend after Thanksgiving weekend where you're like, please, no, guys, I'm gonna leave my family to have a show get canceled 30 minutes before it's supposed to start.
I can't do it. Yeah. It's a bad job. I don't know why I'm doing it. Stick around. But Joey, say goodbye to the freeloaders.
Goodbye, freeloaders. Thanks for listening.
We love you. See you later. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, everyone. Our artwork is created by Justin T. Brown, who can be found at Artness by Justin Brown on Instagram, as well as artnessbyjustinbrown.com. That dope music you heard is by Troy Nababon, available at Troy Nababon on Instagram, as well as at troynababon.com. Nababon is spelled Nababon.